Lithium batteries are one of the most rewarding upgrades that you can make for your RV travels. They're also one of the most expensive upgrades for your RV travels. Today, we're going to start talking about an option that you have to make that upgrade without breaking the bank. Alright, welcome back everybody. If you're new here, I'm Thomas and my wife is Melissa. We're home on the hitch. Thank you for being here. If you're returning for another video, then thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who has subscribed. If you haven't, hit all the buttons and help us get to our 1,000 subscriber mark. So we're almost there, almost there. So on this channel, we like to cover things that will help you get more enjoyment out of your RV time, ways to save money, ways to get out there and do this without breaking the bank. So, and today's no different. So today is going to be part one in a series. We're going to be talking about lithium battery upgrades. Today we're going to talk about what the lithium batteries are, what some of the benefits are, why you would want to upgrade, and some options that you have for lithium batteries. Some can be very expensive, some not so much. So we're going to talk about all that. So let's get started. Lithium batteries are not new, but they are certainly not old. They first came around with, they first came into being with consumer electronics and cell phones and things like that, and have evolved from that to lithium technology, powers electric vehicles, electric cars, pretty much everything that you get electronic wise now these days is going to have lithium batteries in it. All right, so why lithium? What makes lithium so special that everybody wants to put in replacement lithium batteries? So first we have to look at the chemistries that are out there. Most of your RV is going to come with a deep cycle lead acid battery, which is old, super old technology. It's been around forever. It's inefficient. It doesn't last long. You have AGM batteries, which are glass mat batteries. You have gel batteries, which are more expensive and way heavier. So, and that's another drawback with lead acid and glass mat and gel batteries, is that they're super heavy. Let's get into the comparison of a standard battery that will come with your RV and the lithium upgraded battery to give you a little explanation of why you would want to upgrade. What really comes usually with your standard with your RV is a flooded lead acid battery. It's a really old technology. It's been around for a long time, and it's really not super efficient. In comparison, lithium has a lot of advantages. Number one is going to be energy density. So if you have a 100 amp hour lithium battery and a 100 amp hour lead acid batteries, those batteries aren't the same. With a lead acid battery, 100 amp hour lead acid battery, you can really only discharge that to 50%, which would be 50 amp hours. You don't have the whole 100 amp hours usable energy. If you do that, you will ruin a lead acid battery very quickly. With the lithium batteries, you can discharge them to a much greater depth of around 90% before you have to stop. So you have a whole lot more energy available, and if you really look at it, you need 2 lead acid batteries to equal that 1 lithium battery. Well, if you start thinking about that, what does that add up to? Well, weight. The lead acid battery is going to weigh probably 70 pounds. You get 2 of those, that's 140. The lithium battery weighs about 31 pounds. You're saving 110 pounds of battery weight there by having that 1 lithium battery. Charge cycles. A lead acid battery, now a charge cycle is basically a fully charged battery down to its depth of discharge, whatever that may be, and then charged up again. That's a charge cycle. you'll probably get out of a good lead acid battery, you're going to get 300 charge cycles if the battery is properly maintained. Out of a lithium battery, lithium iron phosphate battery, you're going to get anywhere, depending on the manufacturer, 2,000 to 3,000 charge cycles. That's a great deal difference. That's 10 times the difference. So that's a biggie. And if you look at cost value over the life of the battery, you're going to have 10 sets of lead acid batteries to equal the life of this one lithium ion battery. And that's going to end up costing you probably $3,000 for all those lead acid batteries, as opposed to a Battleborn, which is $1,000. That's a $2,000 savings, and in my book, that's a big deal. Another thing to note, that the lithium iron phosphate batteries, after that, say 2,000 charge cycles, the way they're rated and the way that they have to be, tested and made, after that 2,000 charge cycles of usage, you're still going to have 80% or more of your battery capacity. You're still going to have at least 80 amp hours in that 100 amp hour battery. You can continue to use that battery probably for another 2,000 charge cycles. Big difference over lead acid batteries. Weight, energy density, how much energy is in it, cost, those are all three big deals. The cost up front is way more expensive for the lithium battery. It is. You can't argue with that. But over the life cycle of the battery, lithium is extremely cheap compared to lead acid. Another thing about the two is lead acid batteries they put off fumes and gases, and they have to be vented. Lithium iron phosphate batteries can be mounted in any orientation inside your RV. They don't put off any gases. You can glue them to the ceiling if you want to. It doesn't matter. So that is, the weight issue for RVs, number one. Number two, you have those little storage nooks and crannies in your RV where you can make a nice battery bank of lithium ion batteries and stick them in there and not have to worry about, the same things that you would have to worry about with lead acid batteries. So, but they are expensive. Now, you have Battleborn, which is a premium manufacturer, great top-of-the-line batteries, $1,000-ish for a 100 amp-hour battery. Renogy makes batteries that are great as well. There's other manufacturers. You can find, there's no shortage of manufacturers, but they're going to be in the $700, $800, $900 range, $1,000 range. But I've got great news. There's a way to save a lot of money if you're in a DIY kind of stuff. Even if you're not, it's really not that hard to buy the pieces, buy the cells, and create your own 100 amp hour lithium ion battery with a BMS, and we'll talk more about the BMS in just a little bit, for a third of the cost of the major brands, if not less. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to kind of get some parts and pieces together, and we're going to talk about them and tell you how to get them, where to get them, and what we're going to do with them to make our own battery. So don't go anywhere. All right, so this is where you're going to look to order your CALB cells or your prismatic lithium iron phosphate cells. I buy all my stuff off of Aliexpress. They have different deals that come at different times. Some of the stuff is US stocked. A lot of it is not. It does have to ship from China, so you got to pay attention to the shipping times. A lot of that can be delayed, but we're going to do CALB cell, say, life code 4. That will do is bring this up for us. So this is USA stock. When you look at these, you're going to see that this is one piece, and they're selling one for $121 a piece, and that's because it's US stock. LiFePO4 battery. That way, you're going to find a lot of different offerings here. Now, I've got some of these that are going to be coming because this is 4 cells, 100 amp hour cells from CALB. These are aluminum cased versus the nylon cased CALB cells, but these are much smaller and they have really good reviews. This is 100 amp hours for $159. The only issue or the other part of it is, you have to build a battery box for this because these are just aluminum cased prismatic cells, and it's going to take till May the 4th. It is January right now, so you're looking at 3.5 to 4 months before you get this. But the cost is a lot different. So, I got some of those coming, and I'm anxious to get them to see what they're all about. Scrolling on down, here we go. Grade A cells is what you're looking for. These are 4 pieces, 100 amp hours. Depends on where you have it shipped from. If you have it shipped from China, Poland, or the US. If you have it shipped from the US, let's see. United States. Alright, so now this is a really good deal right here. $358, not too bad for 4 CALB cells delivered in 1 to 5 days from the US. So that would be an entire battery pack's worth of cells for $358, and you could get those in less than a week by FedEx. So you can find them a little cheaper than that, but your delivery times are going to be months. Alright, so that covers, you just really have to look at the ratings and the seller's ratings. I've never had an issue on Aliexpress, and you can use PayPal on Aliexpress. So PayPal is, if you're not comfortable with Aliexpress, you should be comfortable with PayPal. Because PayPal is really good at resolving disputes. I've never had one here on Aliexpress, but next thing to look at is going to be a BMS. I searched for Dolly BMS LiFePO 4. It's going to bring up a bunch of options. Right here you can see 4S 12 volt. They have this from 80 amps to 500 amps. Go down through here. They have common port and separate port. We'll talk about those in the next video. But if you wanted a 100 amp common port, which is what I want, that's $33. That estimated delivery by March the 12th for $33. So that's a good price, great deal. Look at the other pictures. It's got 493 orders and 133 reviews. I feel pretty safe and secure ordering from these guys. Aliexpress is where I buy my cells, as well as the BMS. Yeah, so these are the CALB cells. They are 3.2 nominal volts each. The nice thing about these cells is they're aviation grade cells. Prismatic form, but they come in this nylon. Each cell is in its own nylon case. So realistically, once you put this together, and you can fasten it together with hose clamps or shrink wrap or whatever you want to do with, but you don't need any other case material around these if you don't. Now I put them in a a little battery box case still, but these, it's a hard nylon case, and they're very well protected. So that is very nice about these. Got a vent on the top, and of course red for positive, black for negative. So you need 4 of these to, of course, make your 12 volt battery. What did I do with my tape measure? Here it is. So let's see, one of these cells, it's 5.5 inches wide, 2.5 inches thick, and let's see what we're looking at here, 8.5 inches tall. So about the size, this the standard size of a deep cell battery. The aluminum case cells that we looked at online, that were cheaper, they're, I think, cheaper because they don't come cased in their own nylon case. They're a lot smaller than these CALB cells, like probably less than half the size, but they don't have all this extra casing around them. So these are live cells. This multimeter only goes up to 1 decimal point, but so we are looking at, for this first cell is 3.5 volts, and 3.5 volts, 3.4 volts, 3.4 volts. So that's pretty close. I'm going to check those with a different multimeter later, just to see what the second decimal point is. If they're close enough, then that'll be fine. If not, we'll need to try to balance them out. I'll show you. We'll talk about that in the next video. Alright, so you need 4 cells for a 12 volt battery, and these are 100 amp hour cells each. So that will equal our 12 volt battery at 100 amp hours. You're going to have a BMS. This is a 100 amp hour battery with a 1C discharge rate, which is 100 amps, a 300 amp pulse rating, momentary discharge, and it's a 0.5C charge rate, which is 50 amps. This is not actually the BMS I want to leave on this battery. This is the only one I have right now. The other one that I have ordered coming is very similar to this, just a little bit bigger, and it's a 100 amp BMS. This is a 60 amp BMS. What the BMS is designed to do is basically monitor the battery and protect the battery. It monitors all the voltage coming in and out of the battery pack, as well as the voltages of each individual cell through these smaller leads. These are balancing leads. The BMS will monitor the voltage of each cell. If one gets too high, then it will try to, through resistors inside the BMS, it will slow down the charging of an individual cell and try to transfer electricity to the other cells to make everything balance out, because we need these individual cells to be as close as possible, and we're going to talk about that in the next video in this series when we really start putting this battery together. There's top balancing and bottom balancing, and we'll go over those and what the difference is. The BMS as well is going to have a high voltage disconnect. If you've got this hooked up to a charging source and something goes wrong and it gets charged to a point which is dangerous to the battery, the BMS will disconnect the battery from the charging source. Same goes for a load source. If the battery gets down to a low voltage which is dangerous for it, it will disconnect. This one does not have this feature of low temperature cutoff, but the other one that I have coming, and the ones that I like to use, do. And it's set for lithium iron phosphate batteries. Has a temperature sensing probe. You put that on there, it's in the battery pack. If the temperature drops too low to be charging, the BMS will disconnect the battery. So it's imperative that you have a BMS for lithium iron phosphate when you're using these lithium iron phosphate cells to build a battery. So next video, we're going to talk more about these CALB cells, how to get them balanced, how to get them prepared to go into a pack, how we're going to wire them up, series, parallel, well, what all that means, hooking up the BMS, because there's a lot of things you need to know there. You know, disclaimer, I'm not a battery expert. I don't claim to be. This is all based off of my research. We've been using several of these battery packs that I've built for numerous years now and have had no issues with them whatsoever. They've provided excellent service and are still providing excellent service. So in my opinion, it's a great way to get your lithium power upgrade at a really decreased price, and it's really not that hard to do. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video in this series. Give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, because the thumbs up and the comments really help the YouTube algorithm share this around. That's going to do it for video number 1 in this series. We will talk to you next time. Until then, love each other, take care of each other, and make every moment count. We'll see you next time, guys.